Alright, now, which one was the one we were starting with today? Nope. There we go. That's the one. There we go. Alright, yeah. So, today, we're talking the X-Men. Other than Spider-Man, probably Marvel's most popular franchise, and one that's got quite an insane amount of history to it. As we can tell from these fantastic collectible cards that I've been hoarding since '93. Gosh, that's 30 years now. First issue of the Uncanny X-Men, right there. September 30th. Or September 1963. Don't know why I said 30th. But yeah. So, X-Men have been around a while. We are now at 60 years of the X-Men franchise. And a lot of stuff has happened in that amount of time. And I want to get one thing out of the way, just straight out of the gate. Though not everyone who has written for the X-Men has felt this way, and not everybody who's drawn for the X-Men has thought this way. The X-Men were started as a statement on civil rights. I mean, you cannot avoid that. Two Jewish comics legends wrote on the first few episodes of, or first few issues at least, of X-Men. You know, Stan Lee himself was Jewish. It was a statement on different racial groups being mistreated. And that is a core tenet to the X-Men throughout the series. Like I said, not everybody has always felt that way, and not everybody treats the property that way, but that's how it started. Now, with that, the core premise to the X-Men is all of the X-Men are people with a specific genetic mutation called the X gene, which makes them different. It manifests in each person in a different way. Each person has a different set of powers. Sometimes their powers are so obscure, like Moira McTaggart, that she doesn't even register as a mutant. And her power is literally reincarnation. She goes through 10 or 11 life cycles just being reborn in different timelines, and that's her mutant power, which is crazy. Started out with 5 initial members, which were Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, and can I get the 5th? Oh, Angel, duh, who became Archangel. So his mutant power was enhanced by someone being evil. He got metal wings instead of just feathery ones. Though I'm not sure it's an improvement. And yeah, so the X-Men. Been kind of a banner bearer for standing up for the rights of other people since the series came out. Also, just arguably one of the coolest properties that Marvel has ever come up with. The staggering number of powers and plot lines and different ideas that people have been able to work into the storylines has made it one of the most enduring pieces of comic history. At one point, this series was everything to Marvel. Like, in the 90s, this was everything. This was all that they did, it seemed like. With the exception of some highlights with Spider-Man, but all the rest of their heroes just kind of got ignored for the X-Men. And this series was part of that, part of the reasoning on that, because released on Saturday morning for Fox Kids was the Adventures of the X-Men, an animated series that Okay, that's not the title. It's just called X-Men. Sorry. This is X-Men Adventures. The X-Men animated series brought a lot of kids into the comics. Unfortunately, because of the 90s and all the edginess, those comics weren't exactly appropriate for the audience that was watching the cartoon. So, this series here, not very well known by a lot of people, kind of snuck under the radar, but this is a page-for-page retelling of the episodes of the X-Men animated series. So, X-Men Adventures, right there, it even says Fox Kids Network. Da-da-da. That's where you watched it. So, this is the series that introduced me to the X-Men and got me interested in all of the characters of the X universe. But if you were, an aspiring geek or somebody who was really into the comics of the time, there was a staggering number of titles. I do not even have a fraction of all of them, but we've got like Generation X. Later, we had X people in other spin-off things like Marvel Voices. We've got Ben Grimm and Logan, which is a prequel story for both Ben and Logan in their own world. You had individual characters that had spin-offs of individual characters. You've got Dark Wolverine, which is Daken, a cloned son of Wolverine. And then you have another series, X-23, which is another cloned daughter of Logan, who is the X-Men Wolverine. What? Nope, where's Wolverine? There's a Wolverine. See, he's on a lot of different covers. Haven't gotten to the Wolverine issue in here because these aren't organized. That would require me. There's X-23. See, X-23. They did more edgy content like District X, which delved more into like racism issues than the main storyline did. You've got the Ultimates run, which went with the rest of Marvel's Ultimates, which saw a lot of messed up stuff with the X-Men. That was one of those points where Marvel was just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. You have X-Men Legacy, which was the retooling of the original X-Men comic, which is the Uncanny X-Men, that did different things, and they brought back Uncanny X-Men. It gets convoluted to that part. You have X-Men The End, which had 3 miniseries to it. You have the Young X-Men, X Infernus. You've got classic X-Men. You had spin-offs with Deadpool. No, this is the original spin-off with Deadpool. This was before he was the fourth wall breaking merc with a mouth. This series was really serious. And so when everybody freaked out about Deadpool and how cool he was and everything, I was like, wasn't that guy from that 4-point miniseries that was like, ugly? And that's all I thought in my young mind. You have just the regular X-Men comic. Cable, another popular character that got several spin-offs, just like X-Force and Cable. You got the Beast with his own spin-off. Gambit, Sentinel, even the bad guys got their own series. X-Universe and Exiles. I'm not seeing it here, but one that was kind of ahead of its time that I have an issue of was like a character profile on Rogue. I don't know where that one went, but they did a miniseries that was just about Rogue. Before there was a lot of miniseries delving into female characters in Marvel. So, X-Men have always been a progressive media franchise. And there's just a lot that goes on with the X family and everything that they do. A lot of authors have been used to tell a lot of amazing stories and some terrible stories. There's the Age of Apocalypse storyline that, wasn't like that great and wasn't really loved by the fans. You definitely had the Dark Phoenix arc where Jean Grey gets possessed. That's a whole thing. And that one wasn't as popular with fans either. There's just been a lot of ups and downs in the world of X-Men. The most recent story arcs in the last 5 years, I'm not a personal fan of, because it honestly goes back and retcons a lot of goodwill with the series and makes a lot of that goodwill seem more malevolent and I guess you could say fascist. The most current X-Men story arc has Moira McTaggart going back and rewriting the history of the X-Men a whole bunch of times. And it's been a big build-up. I've been following it, though I don't have any of the issues here. And I feel like for a series that was about how people who are different can get along, a story, a 5 year, I'm not sure if it's five, a 3 or 5 year story arc where everything's about becoming isolationists and mutants must be separated from the world population by their own actions. It really rings hollow. There's been a lot of people who tout and acclaim the series, but I don't feel that way. I feel like it's a bad tarnish on the X-Men's record of inclusivity and that there is a way that all of us can get along. You know, a positive message being turned into something more sinister. But I don't know, that recently came to an end, and we'll have to see where they go from now. And this was just supposed to be a quick introduction to the X-Men. It wasn't supposed to spoil anything, and it also wasn't supposed to showcase any specific storylines. But just to show off a little bit, there was an insane amount of literature on just one superhero team in Marvel Comics. Like I stated, this huge stack here, not even close to the full number of titles that this series generated. And definitely not a full list of characters has been given. There are probably at this point hundreds, possibly thousands of X-Men, or X-persons. And it's always going to be a font of new and interesting stories just by its nature. These people that have new abilities that don't necessarily understand them because nobody's had them before, and the trials and tribulations that they go through being persecuted and then trying to figure themselves out. It's all allegory for things, and I definitely feel like it's something that in this day and age we need. So I hope all of you guys check out the X-Men if you haven't. I'm not sure what fans I'm going to hit with this. I don't know what people are going to watch this video that don't already know who the X-Men are. But hopefully this is a nice intro and piques your curiosity and makes you go out and maybe hit your public library and check out some of the graphic novels or the compilation volumes and find out who the X-Men are and what stories you might be able to relate to in the X history. So, I'm signing off for today. I hope you guys all enjoyed this one, and I will catch you on the next one. Goodbye.